not a 5 minute, but I'm sure each minute of that was valuable in terms of networking with each and every one. I think that's the wholesome takeaways from these kind of sessions where you get to meet, learn, and talk to so many new people. So, like I mentioned before the break, that we have a Jugalbandi, but we've got something called a Sone Pe Suhaga. We've got a Trigal Bandi, if there's something like that, that we can even turn it round into. We've got three eminent, experienced individuals who are going to come up on stage and talk us through their journeys, and in fact talk among themselves about what's the entire stories and pearls of entrepreneurship. So I already spoke about two gentlemen, Mr. Narendra Kale, sir, and Mr. Anand Deshpande, sir. Both of them have already spoken to us and they'll be here. Along with them, we've got the ex-CEO of Tech Mahindra and currently the founder of TIE Pune, who has been instrumental in driving the entrepreneurial energy within the region of Pune and among many parts of India, Mr. Kiran Deshpande, sir. So let's hear it for him. And I would request all three of our eminent speakers to please come up on stage and really enlighten everyone. After they talk, they will open it up to all of us to ask all our eager questions. So please feel free to make all the value out of this, make the best of it, and enjoy the session. It's going to be a really nice one. Thank you.
I'm flanked by two Deshpandes. Since I'm in the middle, I'll start with the first question.
Sure.
Anand, I heard you once about the importance of mentors and the 4 types of mentors people should have in the book ceremony. So can you please explain that concept to everybody's benefit?
Yes, so essentially I've been, again, I know I say the same things again and again. So those of you heard this before, that's the way it is. So what Narendra ji is mentioning is that I believe that mentorship is very important. Everyone must have mentors. But this mentorship becomes very confusing. A lot of people don't know what it relates to and all that. So I found that in my life as well, I found that the way to think about this is to think about 4 kinds of mentors who serve different kinds of purpose. So the first, and to make it easier to remember and to keep that in mind, I've been using 4 Indian mythological stories to kind of relate that to each other. So the first one I'm going to share is the Eklavya Dronacharya context. So where Dronacharya was Eklavya's mentor, but Dronacharya did not necessarily know that Eklavya was his mentor, at least for a long time. And this kind of mentorship is now possible in our world today much more easily because we can follow anyone on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Insta, wherever we want to follow. And we can pick whatever we care about out of them. So this Dronacharya Eklavya mentorship is not it's asymmetric, it's not symmetric. Both sides don't know each other. You can follow anybody you want and everyone should have their own list of mentors that they are following as part of their Dronacharya mentorship. So that's become quite easy now and I highly recommend it. And each one of you should have your own follow list and see what they are doing because you can learn a lot from other people. So that's the first kind. The second one that I tell people is that in our homes, typically we have a Dev Panchayat. So we have, in our Devghar, we have typically a Ganpati, Vishnu, maybe Sri Krishna or Ram or whatever. Then we'll have Lakshmi, Saraswati or Shiva, and set of half a dozen to 6 to 8 देव असतात आपल्या देवळात, घरातल्या देवघरामध्ये. And each of them has a separate role. And your objective is to keep them posted on what's happening on a regular basis. And the intention is that when you need something and you want to ask something, they should know the context. So you should go tell them kind of daily what's happening. And as long as they are aware of what's going on, when you need help, you can go to them. So like this, you should have your own half a dozen mentors who address a different part of your life in some sense. And each of them, you should keep them kind of posted. They should know what's going on, because then when you need them, you can get that help. So keeping them informed is an important thing. And in this case, a little bit, it's both symmetric. So both people who are mentor can be mentee, and both sides kind of get something from each other. So it's very important to think like that. And I'll explain this in a moment again. But in this mentorship relationship, if you see, we have a Balakrishna also. So it's a young person. So it's not age related. You don't necessarily need to go to older people. Actually, your kids can be very good mentors. They can ask you questions that nobody else will ask. And so having a diverse set of mentors who bring in different kinds of things, where you have an ongoing relationship, where you are explaining to them what's going on a day, on a regular basis, is very important. So that's the second category of mentors that I believe. The third category of mentor, I want to share the story of Prahlad and Narsimha and Hiranyakashipu. So Prahlad's father had gone rogue in some sense. So he was doing things that was not right. Prahlad was Vishnu's Bhakt, and his father Hiranyakashipu had this boon that he cannot be killed in the morning, evening, man, human, in, out, all kinds of constraints were set up. So he needed somebody who was a very specialized person to come and take care of the situation. So because he had a relationship with Vishnu, he was able to bring in Narsimha, who met all the constraints that were necessary to take care of the problem that is there. So when you have a situation that is very unique, very constrained, you need a specialist to come. Your network of mentors will help you get to that thing. But just like, you'll see that there aren't that many Narsimha temples in general. There are some in South, but most people find that having a Narsimha next to you is not the most comforting situation. So you can't just carry a specialist around all the time with you. So you need them when you need them, but when you are done, you should be able to move on. So when you need that help, you should be able to get that when you need it rather than stay with it. So that's the third category of mentors. And in the fourth category, of course, the best mentor-mentee relationship that we all know is the Arjun-Krishna mentorship. When Dharma Yuddha had to be done, then Arjun went to Krishna and got him to be his mentor in some sense. Now the interesting things about this story is also that apparently Duryodhana also tried to go to Krishna. But he picked Arjun because there was a past relationship, there was a reason behind it. Now Krishna being Krishna, he could have been a mentor without being at the battlefield at all. He was supreme, right? He could have provided the guidance even without being there. But see, the mentor also likes to be part of the action. So he was there on the field with him because he wanted to see what's going on and be in, quote unquote, at least observe, be involved in some form or the other. So when you're looking at a mentor-mentee relationship, both sides have something to gain. Arjun, of course, benefited from Krishna's presence, but Krishna also enjoyed or may have benefited to some extent from his association with the thing. He could see that whole activity, what was going on. So having that kind of relationship is very important. So those are the four categories of mentors that I believe in. So the takeaway for you is that you should have your own half a dozen mentors that you know who they are. And you have a method of keeping them posted on an ongoing basis, because when you need the help, you can't come to someone and say, oh, can you mentor me? It's like, what am I supposed to tell you? I have no idea. So having that relationship is very critical for mentorship. Hope that answers your question.
Kiran, you have been mentoring at TIE. So what are some of the nuggets from you?
See, I like mentees who don't listen to me. Because one thing I derive from there is the founder or the founding team have thought through the situation, are very confident that they can do what they have to do. And it makes my life easy because, the thing you like most is your founders or your shishya successful and confident. So the success may come, but the class of founders, if the founder is built, I always said that we are not mentoring the company, we are not doing for the company, we are building the founders. We are helping build the founders. So today you may not be successful, but sometime, in fact, Naren, my first mentee when we started this program in Thai, their company at that time did not succeed because they were ahead of the time. But later, Patan became successful. He became a Thai charter member, and he was our treasurer in Thai. It's like you ever had a PhD student who comes back and becomes a faculty and becomes a colleague. So that piece becomes very useful. Picking up from what Anand said, I always feel that, entrepreneurship I have found quite intense, enjoyable, but there are moments of loneliness. But one thing that is constant with you is your ability to think. Many times we tend to get a Blinkit or Zomato type of a solution from a mentor. वो होता नहीं है मतलब उस type से. You have to think yourself, get to some hypothesis, and then get an Anand or a Naren to say, bhai, what does it makes job easier for you as well as for the mentors. So
I want to ask you, Narendra, this question because I'm sure a lot of people come and tell you that they want to be mentored by you. So 2 questions. One is, how do you say yes or no? And second, the question is that meaning sometimes these mentees expect for you to keep their context in your mind. How do you do that?
First question is easy to answer. If I am able to add value, it is my sphere of expertise, then and the person is really passionate about what he or she is trying to do, then I become the mentor-mentee relationship starts. Because otherwise it just flickers away. And if it is not within my sphere of expertise, then I try to find them somebody who is in their sphere of expertise. Because I think that's the least that one can do. All my relationships as a mentor-mentee are long-term relationships. They are not for a period of time and then. So unless the person doesn't want to be my mentee, but I think as far as I'm concerned, they are for life. Because the pleasure you see them unfolding to their fullest potential, you cannot get it by any other thing. So I think in terms of mentor-mentee relationship, I think I have to keep in mind that I can handle only so many. So from that perspective, you have to make sure that unless there is a vacancy, you can't accept the next one.
Anand, there's something else that is there. See, there is advice. Somebody asks you for an advice. You give an advice. You coach people. But mentoring is kind of an overarching canvas. Your grandmother, she doesn't know what you're doing, can become your mentor. Because when you go to her, you feel good, you come out positive, and sometimes her wisdom gives you that. So I think keeping that in mind is very important. The other thing is, I think all of us have lived a life with a specific professional experience, personal experience. Quite a few of that is applicable today, but some of it is also not applicable. So we as mentors have to keep that in mind. For example, I have learned a lot about branding or lack of it in last few years after I have seen how Shantanu addresses it. So I said, oh, this is one area which I don't know. Pura life nikal gaya, lekin branding puri tarah samajh mein nahi aaya. So, and when you meet founders who come to you and then talk about it, you learn a lot from your mentees, by the way. You learn a lot from them.
As far as advice is concerned, I think there is a difference between advice and mentorship. I don't give advice to anybody. Wise men don't need it, and fools don't heed it. So I refrain from that.
Let's take questions as well from the room. That way we can keep things moving. Yeah, and what we'll do is let's collect 3 questions at a time, and then we can choose to answer them or not. Because in Pune,
We have choice not to answer also.
Yeah,
Right?
because Pune they'll ask questions we can't answer anyway.
Exactly.
Bolo.
Sir, I have two questions. Last week, I had organized one corporate dinner meet. So it was basically CXO meet. So we had around 40 plus CXOs having turnover of more than 10 CR, 50 CR, 100 CR. Apart from that, there were like around 20 HR from different corporates. Now, from this CXO meet, I have two questions. What we can do so that this CXO people should help each other, or J4 should help them to grow. Second question is that as there are many startups, so how the CXO and HR can help the startups to grow. Anand sir knows about me. Just like J4 is a community of startups and MSMEs, and we have around more than 7 to 8,000 startups associated with us. So we are in the process to create a good ecosystem for them. So how J4 can help CXO to grow, or what we can do to create a better
Yeah,
ecosystem?
so you're building tie. So we'll let Kiran answer that question after we've picked the other two questions as well. Let's get the other questions. Yeah, go ahead. Somebody will bring a mic. If you have mic, you have the question.
I just love the fact that this conversation is about mentoring, because I certified the GMR CEOs as mentors. And one question that I would like to ask all of you who are brilliant mentors is that what is that one capability that you feel a mentor should have above all? Because you've done an awesome job at it. We know that. Yeah.
Let's take a third question and then whoever can get the mic first.
Yeah, hello. My name is Ullas Bodhankar. My question actually goes to the keynote address that Mr. Kare gave. So is it okay? Because I think all of you, it would be relevant for. So I think Kale Consultancy, were pioneers in building these amazing products for airlines, banks, and hospitals. But thereafter, we haven't seen many stories of Indian companies building products. So are there any thoughts you want to share, and any tips for the youngsters and the new entrepreneurs in terms of product building?
Okay, so let's take these three questions and let me answer the one that was there. Then I will get everyone to, and I think you should answer he's trying to build ties, so you have the answer to that. And there was a specific one for you anyway. So regarding, in my opinion, if I'm a mentor, my job is to be the wall that people can throw balls at. I don't, like Narendraji said, he's very thoughtful about not giving answers. I'm so clueless that I don't have always the answer. So I just listen to people. And what I find useful though is that when you listen to people and you just listen to them like a grandmother would, then people in their desire to explain what is going on actually clarifies their thought and they get their own answers. This is what I find to be the most useful thing. And as a mentor, I try to sort of be stupid to say, okay, so what? Just samjhao. By the time they explain it, they get the answers most of the times. And then I have, as you would have observed, I have very clear frameworks for everything that I do. So I pick one framework and share that with them. But that's what I do.
I think one of the quality of the mentor that I feel is important is, since it's a lonely profession, a bit of compassion. Because I think they do want to have a shoulder on which they can cry and not see anybody sobbing. I mean, I don't want it to be a cry story, but at the same time, I think being compassionate helps a lot. Because once that phase is over, then really the sun shines and it is over. You have not done anything, but just that process of having compassion makes a lot of difference.
Do you want to answer Ullas's question?
Yes, I will. See, as I said, when we started Kale Consultants, it was considered to be a suicide story. And there was a reason. we wanted to build products in service industry, which is logarithmically different to succeed. To build a product in service industry is logarithmically different, difficult process. What we believed we can do it because we thought service industry can do wonders because computers were new at that time, whether it is hotels, hospitals, banking, airlines. Can really improve the service logarithmically. That's the reason, like passionate people, we just went in. Why people don't do it frequently now, especially in Pune? I think the attention span of people has reduced. Number one, they want instant successes, and product by its very nature doesn't have instant gratification. It takes time. Again, dhire dhire. So that is one reason, as I see. Second reason is the persistence that is required. Very few people have the persistence like what Anand has. So that is another reason. Third reason is investment is upfront. The fruits come long after that. So I think these are the three reasons I say. The third reason now, by and large, is taken care of. VCs understand what product business is all about. VCs give better valuation than what they give the services company to, for a reason. And thirdly, I think if you are passionate about it and if you are persistent about it, there is no reason why you can't succeed if you have the right idea for the right time. In our case, in certain places we were before time, certain places we were behind the time. So only in certain cases we were right on the dot. So I think timing also makes a world of a difference. So I hope I have addressed your question.
So, I'll try. There are many things around here. If you're building an ecosystem, and I think Anand Chirarkar mentioned about it, Naren also mentioned about it, that the ecosystem is very important because that's where the foundation comes in. I think Mr. Kekre, the gentleman who is a mentor, he talked about roots, then the trunks and the trees. So that ecosystem is very important. Selflessness, if it is there. For example, in Thai we say, for entrepreneurs, by entrepreneurs. In reality, nothing is 100% because people are people. But if you do that. The third part, purely from mentoring, what we have seen is organized mentoring has far more impact. One-on-one mentoring happens within organized mentoring. So, for example, a very simple thing like Anand and I are mentors to a suite of founders. If Anand is busy, I carry the ball. If I am not well, Anand can carry the ball. They are very simple tactical things. Don't bring in investment upfront because, if your PhD student does a startup and offers you options or something, that's good. But you don't guide a PhD expecting that the person is going to make money. So that process is also very important. Last point, and these are broad, I'm happy to help you with more details. People learn from each other as much as they learn from the mentor or the mentors. So I think that peer level, when you're bringing them together itself is the first thing. So these are a few things. Happy to help you out on most of these the way on. Last one, formalism of, founders, we build or we create a company or we have an idea, we are not necessarily expert in everything. Sometimes we don't even know what is required. For example, reading a cash flow balance sheet, I think he learnt it on the way I learnt it when I joined TechM. First time I saw a P&L. He isko samajhna hai, nahi to I am not good enough to be CEO. So we learn it on the job. Formalizing that body of knowledge, be it go-to-market, strategy, finance, all of that, an organized way to teach founders can help them to get that body of knowledge, and it helps their uh, journey going forward. These are some of the things that
Kiran, I'm going to put a little counter question to both of you in this topic here. So one is, these kinds of events, right? There's like too many of them right now. And I find lots of early stage founders spend too much time listening to too many people and not doing what they should be doing. So what is your thought on that process? Because I found for a while, when I started my business, I was listening to a lot of people, and then one day I said, man, screw all these guys. I have to do what I have to do, and it's execution that matters. So I shut everyone off completely. I stopped going to most events, right? Because it's just, just listen to us and kaam karo, baki sab to
I am
hota rahega,
100% with you on
and so this is one thing that I find. And the second thing I find, which is a related question, you started by saying that I think AI can be a beautiful coach right now. Meaning you have your own ChatGPT, ask whatever you want. It gives you such better answers than most mentors can, right? Why would you want to go to a mentor? Right? So what are your thoughts on this topic?
Okay, as far as the first one is concerned, I agree. It does not mean that Anand should stop whatever he's doing. But I think one or two contacts, as he rightly said, can change your entire journey. So in that sense, that one or two, again, I think he's just trying to increase the surface area. You never know where it is going to come from. So it is only by attending you will know it. So in one of the Pan IIT, I met Deshpande, and I find a person whom I can look up to forever in my life. And I think it continues. I think now we have developed family relation, everything is. So that one contact is useful, and you meet it in such environment. So that's answer to the first question. What was the second question?
I find that ChatGPT has become a beautiful advisor right now. So you can always say, what would Narendra Kale say? And you can get beautiful answers. We don't know whether you'd say the same thing, but it makes you feel like, I got your advice without asking you anything. With the power of ChatGPT and AI now, do you think this whole, mentorship will change in the sense that, why do I need to? What do you think about it? Do you use, let me put it this way, do you use ChatGPT and others to be a mentor for you, ask questions, do all kinds of things?
Not for mentoring, but I do use it for my personal use. The difference is involvement. For the well-being of the mentee.
So Anand, I'll give you an example. This year they invited me to be on the Semiconductor Center of Excellence, and I'm now one of the professorial startup in gallium nitride. They've asked me to be an advisor, and I have to go back to my 9th grade physics की ये gallium nitride होता क्या है?
वो तो बदल गया है. जो gallium nitride आपने 9th standard में पढ़ा था वो तो अभी irrelevant हो गया.
Irrelevant हो गया था, उसको पढ़ना पड़ेगा. So we're thinking, what is the market? So we are in the laptop. I asked ChatGPT, what is gallium nitride market? Within about 4 minutes, and I said, I'm in a board meeting. Give me concise. Within about 3 minutes, I have a good idea of what's happening. Now, I remember you. Take a subset of the market and become dominant. That's your focus. I said, what do you think? It gave me answers which were like amazing. It helped me as an advisor saying, guys, here is what ChatGPT is saying. And then we started. So that meeting was very efficient because of this input. The second part is, as a senior person, AI today is an amazing intern for you. Is an amazing
Not
intern.
guru. मेरा तो गुरु है.
गुरु इंटर्न दोनों ही है, लेकिन कभी कभी गलतियां भी करता है वो, बट दैट्स ओके. दैट्स योर
गुरु भी गलती करता है.
गुरु भी गलती करता है, सही बात है. बट आई थिंक if you are saying that please use ChatGPT, is very important. I think coming to your previous point, I know of a situation when I mentioned to one of the founders, you are attending too many events and you are good at speaking, so you'll collect a lot of first prize, second prize. कंपनी को फायदा नहीं होगा बहुत ज़्यादा. He went out of business 3 years later. very unfortunate. I felt sad. So, attending meaningful events, and I believe Anand was quite persuasive that I should come. He didn't. I said I will not be the third person because both of you have a lot of material. I'll come back later. So meaningful events are important, but don't go to every event just because you have to show up. There are people who have this compulsive desire to show up, and I'm not one of
Yeah,
those.
so I would also say further, okay, most of these big conventions, only salespeople show up. There are no buyers. So it's a waste of time. Second, in many of these cases, you have to have clarity of why you are here and what you want to pick out of it. And in my opinion, time is very precious, so you have to manage it carefully. And prioritize doing things rather than listening to people.
I agree.
Okay, let's go to the next round of questions. There's a lady, Mrs. Goravani, wants to ask a question.
So just taking to what you have said just now, we discussed that we should have 6 or different advisors with different personality. So can I create my advisory board with AI and do you have any thoughts around it? 6 different types of personality with 6 agents.
Yes, so let's take 3 questions as I said, Whoever grabs the mic, you are the one who controls which 3 questions we get, right?
Actually, you take this mic also, give it to the
Yeah.
next person.
We can share mic.
We can share the same.
Yeah. Take it, one mic, take it. 2 is enough there. 2 here, 2 there.
Hi, I'm Rahul Bhanose. I have a very specific question wherein we are scaling in India. Now we are at a stage where we are in the process of scaling outside India, which is specifically in Middle East and Africa. So I need some inputs because we have some local presence.
What kind of business do you do a little bit?
We are in the document scrutiny using AI for banking, precisely. Banking, yeah. So, like we have been submitting some proposals and all. I think one of the challenges, where have you implemented in that particular region? I think that point comes in. Yeah. So.
Can I answer?
The third question, le lete hain. That way we can be short on our answers.
Yeah, hi. My name is Purnima Dev. I'm a corporate lawyer. My question is basically related to mentor morphosis. You all have been in the shoes of a mentee. If you could guide us on the process, like when we talk about morphosis, like a process, what was the development or the formation or structural aspect as a mentee, a do or don'ts. That would be a great for a mentee like me, or being a corporate lawyer, I am also a mentor for few startups. So, fitting into the shoes, and there should be a set of process. I understand Anand has got a lot of frameworks on that aspect, but here, that is what I would like to understand. Mentor morphosis.
So we have 3. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think since it's fresh in my mind, I'll take your question, okay? I had the fortune of having 3 persons as my mentors who were also my bosses. Dr. R.J. Thakole, Dr. Ajit Kerkar, and Dr. K.K. Noria, who was chairman of Crompton Greaves. He was on my board. He was also our chairman. Dr. Ajit Kerkar, who was the Taj Group of Hotels. I had a very close interactions with him. Though he was my client, he always treated me as his mentee. Ale kaye mala manaje, Premani. And the third person was Dr. R.J. Thakole, who was my boss at University of Pune, continued for 25 years. So every stage of my life, I have consistently kept these 3 people updated and learned something new from them every time. One thing I learned from Dr. Noria, he said, Kale, ऊंट बड़ा सस्ता होता है, ऊंट बड़ा महंगा होता है. That means, depending on your situation, a thing is very easy to do or thing is very difficult to do. So assess your situation very, very carefully, whether you can afford to do this or not afford to do this. And secondly, जिसको जिसकी ज़रूरत होगी, वो उसके पास जाएगा. In any relationship, apply it, and it is 100% true. जिसको जिसकी ज़रूरत होगी वो उसके पास जाएगा. So I think these two things I learned from Dr. Noria. Wonderful person, 92 years old. I think from 1983 onwards, he has been my mentor. Dr. Takale, till he passed away, he was my mentor. He told me one thing. See, being a university environment, you always used to be with the ministers and all that. So one day, and I had total disdain. Today also, I have total disdain for the political brass. So I asked him, sir, तुम्हाला हे कसं काय म्हणजे how do you manage this? आणि तुम्हाला असं वाटत नाही का यांच्या संबंधी? ते मला म्हणाले, नरेन, understand, they are doctorates in the People's University. I think that was a different outlook to me in terms of how to look at a situation that you really don't like, but still make good from that perspective. And second thing that he told, that your orders will be the Vice Chancellor's orders. How to boost up the confidence of a subordinate that can really make him do wonders.
You wanted to answer that question.
Luckily, Rahul and I know each other very well because we are from the TIE framework. And he was part of Nurture, very good entrepreneur. I think whatever I have learned about you, Rahul, you need backup saying do it. You're on the right track, do it. That's when you try and get inputs, whether it is Middle East, whether it is fundraise. I think believing in yourself, that let me take a shot at it. If required, think through it. That might be useful in your case. And I just want to generalize for everyone. Situational thinking at that particular point in time and figuring it out, at least the options. So situational thinking is very important. And my personal experience is many times you take decisions, and Anand will also share, so will Naren. You take those decisions based on intuition and gut feel, because you don't always have all the information, data, or even the time. Most of the time you don't have time. So at that stage, bit of quick thinking, deep thinking, and that is needed. Otherwise, Rahul, you'll get stuck into situations where you're not taking decisions. But more important is you need to believe in yourself more than you do right now, is what I would say.
So let me give you two very specific things for your Middle East kind of thing and for anybody else looking at global markets. First thing is that, be there, okay? Sitting from here trying to sell globally is very hard. So you have to be there. So spend time in the market, because that's the only way people will keep seeing you. They believe that you are serious, you are a player. If you can move there for some time, that's also very useful. But sort of being there is kind of critical for any market that you want to open up. It's my opinion, at least. And the second thing I would say is that find a partner. Somebody who's already there in the market who you can tag along. If you're doing banking, find who else is selling the products which are around your product and go with them, somehow tag along with them and see how they'll take you in the market. And this is some of you know this, again, a slide that I use in many of my things is the Mahis Bhais strategy, okay? And the idea here is that imagine there is I have a nice picture of it also, which I use. It's a black mashi Bhais, you all know Bhais. In India, it's not very difficult to explain Bhais. Now the point is, if you look at the Bhais, right, there are lots of flies all around the Bhais. Okay. And you should imagine that you are that fly on that Bhais. Okay. So you can't decide where to go. The Bhais has to go and you have to go with it. Understand this. And if the Bhais doesn't go where you want to go, you move your Bhais, go to another Bhais. And your ultimate strategy is to eventually eat the Bhais, okay? Okay, so that's the ultimate goal. But it will take some time before you, the fly, become important and big enough that you can suck the blood of the Bhais to make it happen. But that's sort of much later. in the beginning, you have to find the best to ride the best. So that's the easiest way to do global strategy, where you want to get into something new, different. Find a partner, attach yourselves to that partner, be the parasite, and go with it. And we have IBM and other people who would love to have these parasites around them. So go along with them. Otherwise, trying to go on your own is very hard. So this will be 2 points of advice that I would give you or anybody else trying to do global. Be there and then ride the bhains. Okay, so that'd be my guidance. Anything else you want to add to it?
I'll just like to add to what you said about intuition or gut feeling. I had one Dr. G.B. Devdikar, a renowned scientist from MSCS. He used to say, Naren, intuition is nothing but crystallized logic. You have thought about it so many times that gut feeling is crystallized logic. So I totally agree with what you say.
See, picking up Rahul, he has built a product, and somebody asked the question about product versus services. I want to just share two thoughts. And Narendra actually talked about early investment in products and all that. Number one, most products, unless you're selling per unit, couple of $1 million per unit, and there are products like that, it is a channel business. But 0 to 1 journey is not channel. 0 to 1 journey is a mixed journey. You create lighthouse customers and then channel comes and so on and so forth. So channels, as Anand is saying, a buffalo could be your channel, or another fly could be your channel, or somebody, but you have to figure it out, going to the market and figuring it out. And they are different for different parts of the world. That's one part. The second part, I hear this question, why we have not built products and all that. Has any of the cricketers asked why we did not play baseball? We have done a damn good job we invented remote services industry. We own 70% of it, and we have created a lot of wealth. Now saying that wo khel nahi khela hai, isliye dukhi hai, I don't understand this logic at all, and don't bother yourself at it. If you think you have a product idea, as Naren said, there is enough investment. I spent 18 years when we built a classical Silicon Valley funded product company out of Pune. So it is not undoable, it is doable, and today it is more possible than any other time. But don't waste your time saying kyun nahi banaya, all this stuff, it's irrelevant in today's time.
Actually, I'd like to add an antidote to that. You rightly said, this is long time back, but the moral of the story stays the same. There was a company called Nixdorf who was world renowned for banking operations. And we had developed this first time real-time online transaction processing banking system, which was much ahead of time. And Unix was quite new at that time. So there was a fair at Hanover. So I allowed Nixdorf to give me a stall to run on their system and pay for my airfare and other expenses, because RBI used to pay only $500. So this is riding the bus, as you rightly said.
Forgot your question, ma'am. Sorry.
Because you suggested that everyone should have board of directors or
Yeah.
advisory board. So can I create an advisory board using AI?
Right, good question. Yeah. No, I think you can. The question is that, but sometimes you still want to talk to humans, so that's up to you. But I think you can, of course, supplement the board with AI. Okay, now let's take the next round. Unless you have
Mandar is
questions.
waiting for long.
Yeah. So the guys who are carrying the mics, please
Come to this side as well.
Thank you. So,
another mic. Yeah.
so a quick question. I mean, I can see that you have run companies for so many years. There are quite a lot of founders who have to deal with the board of directors. On behalf of all the founders, there's one question that is coming, that how can you get the board of directors to align so that the speed of the founder journey is increased, or it speeds up the process of scaling up? Because most of the time it's all dependent on the decisions and the alignment of the board, which is a bit of a challenge for most of the founders to take sail with the same, in the same boat, getting it to the level where they want to reach at a very uh, faster speed, or it can be a difficult task sometimes to get that alignment. So my question is, since you have run this for many years,
Let's take the next two questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have-
The mic.
Yes.
Okay. So, maybe I'll ask. Okay, oh, sorry.
Yeah. So we are having a discussion on mentor and mentee. We're in the business of coach and coachee, something similar. Now the barrier what we are trying to break is, when we started, it was for assumption was mentors are like you, but for the millennials and Gen Z, they consider mentors as completely different. So how to break that barrier for them to address that particular concept?
But what's the barrier?
The barrier is now they think like they need not have to have the old age concepts of who can be a mentor.
So that's good, right?
Yeah.
So there is no barrier actually.
So we are addressing it through an AI coach. So that's how kind of getting them behind the bar. But my question was more on how to, we made some assumptions. Initially we thought like this would be for a market of seniors, but now it turned out to be a market of millennials. So my question is more about how to address the dynamics addressing to the millennial market.
I'm not sure I understand the question, but maybe the others do. Let's
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so I have a question. So we have built a platform for dubbing, so multilingual dubbing. So we are dubbing frozen IPs, right? Like such as great movies or animes or OTT platforms into multiple languages. So now, the question that I have is more like in terms of in current age of AI, right? Like when things are becoming accessible, what should be, right, like the moat of the company? So for example, technology, workflow, distribution. So what should be the good mental model, right, like to ensure while we are reinventing ourselves, I'm sure, right, like things are going to become accessible eventually. So what should be that mental model and how should we actually address that? So that's something, if you could share your thoughts, that will be helpful.
So let me take the board question first, and then I have one line that I will share for you, Anand. So regarding the board, let me explain to you a little bit about how to compose the board. So it's not about aligning the board. You have to create the right board first. Right? How do you create the right board? So one thing that I must share is that I had the privilege of attending one session with Mr. Murthy, Narayan Murthy, where he was explaining how he created boards. This was 98, 99 in that. It was a long while. So what he said is that board members should be different from you. They should complement your capabilities. So if you are a techie and all that, don't take other techies on your board. Take somebody who takes skills that don't align with your skills right now. And you bring a board together where the board feels like a team. Okay? So they represent different aspects of the company's requirements, and not all of them doing the same kind of thing. Because you don't want a board with all wicket keepers. You need to have some bowlers, some batsmen. So like this, you should have some distribution on the board. So this is very important to do that. The second important thing to note is that the board doesn't run the company. The CEO runs the company. Okay? Very, very important to understand. It's not the board's decision. It's the CEO's decision to run the company. The board's job is to appoint the CEO or get rid of the CEO, but not run the company. So anybody who's on the board thinks he's running the company or the board is running the company, that is not the case. The board is not running any business. Board is there to help the CEO. Board has other responsibilities, fiduciary responsibilities, minority shareholders, all these other things. Advice on strategy, but the company is not run by boards. Companies are run by CEOs. Very important. The board can get rid of the CEO, but the company is run by the CEO. So these two things I think are very important, bringing the right kind of people on the board so that, they bring in different things, putting the company first as the main objective and the CEO running the business. So that's really how you should make sure boards are. If boards are starting to run the company, you should get rid of the board. That's not the right board to have in any business. Board members need to resist the temptation of
They should not be doing backseat driving. It's the most disastrous thing that you can do. Regarding Anand's question, I'd say the mode in today's world is speed. Whoever moves fast can win. That's all I would say. Your question I really couldn't follow, but maybe others.
Yeah, so I think you can revisit the challenges for the market in terms of addressing the Gen Zs.
See, I'll take a shot at it, even though I don't understand. Because they're poor.
Yeah, so I think this question you should ask the Gen Zs, okay? We are not even Gen, हम तो बुड्ढे लोग हैं हम लोग यहाँ पे.
I'll take a spin.
But
See,
यही है सबसे youngest Kiran.
Yeah, I'm the oldest. Probably Narendra may be older than. I'm older than Anand, definitely. I'm actually student in a ecology class run by the Ecological Society of Pune. So there are students who are like 22, 23, 28. There is a girl who is student 20 and all that. And so I was looking at the young crowd. I would go there, attend the class. And they were also kind of very senior executive, buddha hai, vagara, all that. Finally, we started coming together. I think all of us form some opinion about people based on the age and everything. I think depending upon you, you might be able to get along with a Gen Z or Gen Alpha, Beta, Gamma, whatever is coming down the line. You may not be able to do. But if somebody is sensible, I think you can do that. Some of those students now, we are all co-students. I said, look, I'm a student, so हम चाय कट्टे पे जाते हैं, खाते हैं, सब कुछ, and they share a lot of things. They're very sensible. My experience of them is they're very, very sensible. Like, their thought process, they are more modern in terms of what they know.
Point is वो
अलग सोचते हैं, लेकिन आपसे भी कनेक्ट करते हो.
सोच है वो हम लोगों को नहीं मालूम है. आपको जो वेरीफाई करना है, you have to. So again, speed is the game, right? You try something, it works, it doesn't work, you change, you ask some more people and keep moving, right? So how fast you can evolve is the speed. If you are trying to find product market fit, you don't know whether it's working, you just experiment. There's no other way to do this stuff, okay?
Exactly.
And asking us about what do Gen Z things is the most oxymoron question you would ask, right? हम लोगों को क्या मालूम है? हम तो बुड्ढे हैं यार. We are like, I'm the youngest amongst this group, but I'm also over 64. 63.
I'll dwell in full spirit.
हम लोग का एक बात है. We always love to give ज्ञान. तो कोई भी क्वेश्चन पूछेगा, चैट जीपीटी कभी नहीं बोलेगा मुझे नहीं मालूम है. हम लोग भी कभी एडमिट नहीं करेंगे कि हमको कुछ मालूम है. फंडा तो पिला ही देंगे. कुछ भी पूछोगे फंडा तो पिला ही देंगे. बट यार क्या पूछना है वो भी सोच के पूछो.
Against that background, I'll still dwell upon your question. I meet founders quite often, and majority of them are in Gen Z. I find three things in most of them. One, they are confident. Two, they are confident. And three, which was lacking in our generation, they are caring. They are caring for society, they are caring for their own lives, they are caring for others' lives, which I think I was at least. So they are actually better prepared to take this nation, take this world forward. So you're actually dealing with better population.
Thank you. May I ask a question? So, in this world of mentoring, which is of course always associated with the older you are, the more wisdom you can share, there's also a new trend around reverse mentoring, which is learning from the Gen Zs as we just spoke about. So what's the take on that? I mean, a few nuggets on that.
Yeah, it's true.
It is true, and I think that's why I enjoy meeting founders, because I walk out wiser than I walked into the meeting.
Let's take the more question. So there is a student in you, there is a younger person in you, independent of the age, and if that person is alive, I think this does become. In fact, as I said in the beginning, learn a lot from founders, you said.
Yeah, I'm Sudhir Jaiswal. My question is in the context of early morning discussion that in the process of scaling up, when you shift the orbit as to be, shift the orbit in the company, and then, means the rabbit catchers intend to be, they need to become elephant catchers. How to handle the people, because the 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 rabbit catchers has done good job, and the skill set required in the next orbit is very different to become elephant catchers. So much emotions attached, and success built there. How a founder, CEO can get guided on this, because we need a different level of performance, but there's a question of fit as well, right? Cultural fit also comes along with that. So can you guide us on that?
Very good question. Let's take one more.
Quick one. It's basically to do with management of time. So all of you are pressed on time. How do you, and priorities change by day, by situation, all of that. Do you have frameworks individually which are unique to you in terms of how you manage time and prioritize different situations?
And let's take the third question. There was you already asked one, so we'll come back to you later.
My question to all of you and each of you is, you might have seen a lot of changes in the industry. So which was the biggest change you faced, and how did you survive that?
Which one I should address?
Your choice. You're the senior first.
What was the second question? I think it was interesting.
Time के बारे में.
Time. How do you do the time management? See, I don't have a framework or something like that, but I do have, in terms of, in the morning, I write down the few things that I need to accomplish. And the rest of the time I can fill it. And that is open. So I keep a couple of hours open every day, and which gets filled in weeks, in months, in years advance. But couple of hours I do keep it free, because some of the most influential things that happened in my life are in those couple of hours that I did. So that's my only framework, so as to say. The rest of the things are predetermined and I don't change them.
So let me answer the first question that was asked about what happens to people when businesses scale. And so it is really true that when you shift orbits, you need very different kinds of skills in every orbit. There's no doubt about that. Second, it is also equally true that it's very hard for people to scale. So people who are used to doing a certain way will not be willing to make that change that easily. So those are very true things. And that's one of the biggest challenges that founders have, is that people who have the loyalty factor, where they have been with you for a very long time, versus required skills that are needed in the future of a business. And they may not be aligned. But this is the reality of what I'm sure many of you have seen in your own businesses. How do you deal with it? So that's the basic context. So let me share a few things. One is that I find that the reason people are not able to make that shift from one orbit to the other orbit, because they are skeptical and they're not willing. First thing. If I'm willing to make a change, then I'm more likely to be able to make it, rather than if I'm not willing to it. If I resist it, then I'm not going to be able to make it. So creating that painted picture that I shared with you early on is very important, because it tells people that I need to make these changes because I want to be somewhere else. And there's a positive thing of where I want to be. Now this is important, and I find many people will, so here's what happens is that when you show this sort of where you want to be, a lot of people feel like, oh, maybe I need to do something more, I'm willing to accept, I need to learn something different, and then make the changes that are needed for making that change. That's the best case scenario. So everyone kind of agrees and makes that change. The second thing that happens when you sort of show your painted picture, some people in your group will say, this is not me. I don't care about doing this, I don't want to do it. So they will walk out and tell you that, hey, and you may want to do this, but I don't want to do it. That's also a very happy situation. You should let them go because they don't want to come with you. You are going somewhere. Just because there is a mountain, I don't necessarily care to climb it. Right? So I should have my own choice of when I want to do whatever. So you will get a set of people who will walk away, and that's also fine actually. And it's good that they walk away rather than drag everyone back. So that's also very nice. The trickiest problem becomes when people are just stay on, don't do anything, are skeptical, but they've been around for so long that you feel like you need to retain them. This is the hardest part of every business that you need to think about. So there are two. So basically, you don't have a choice. You have to let some of these people go actually. And this is the hardest thing that you will do. But if you decide you want to go there, you can't have people who are dragging you down. Okay? That is not a good situation. So you have to find a way to let people go. And the only thing I would add to this is that when you're asking people to go, be generous about doing that. Okay? Do it in a professional way. It doesn't have to be for any specific reason. We are trying to go to this mountain. You don't want to come with us, or we think you're not ready to come with the mountain. So let's part ways. So do it kind of nicely. Give them exit bonus, whatever else. Make sure they get something else to do, or ask them to change role or whatever else. Right. So planning through that activity and doing it right is very critical. But to me, that is the hardest part of, you will find that in this change, because there are people who've been very loyal to you in whatever you might say. They have worked with you every single day. They have done everything you wanted them to do, but they will never scale. That is also equally true. So that is the hard part of where you need to go. But in my opinion, at the end of it, the way I like to see when I say it's our company, it is a company first. You have to do what is right for the company. And then sometimes if you can't scale, you should also move on. But it's the same idea. You have to do what is right for the company. The company needs to go there. You need people who are fit to go with you. If they're not ready, then just to ask them to leave.
Just a one-liner there. One of my wise uncle used to say, चांगलं काम करणाऱ्या माणसाला चांगली वागणूक द्या, चांगला पैसा द्या, आणि चांगलं वागणाऱ्या माणसाला चांगली वागणूक द्या. And don't mix between the two. I think the question comes when you try to mix the two. The person who works really well, give him enough perks. The person who is good to you, has been loyal to you, give him good treatment. But that's it, I think. Should not confuse between the two.
Well, I have a follow-up question on this specific.
Again, on this one?
On this one. So, you've spoken about the S-curves, and you've always said that a company goes through 3 or 4 of these.
Many, we are in the 6th one.
6th one. Now, have you experienced that a CEO, founding team, whatever, recognizes it, are ready to do the shift, as you say, and runs into serious storm or a headwind which is created by the ecosystem? How do you handle it?
So of course, when you are in this mix, you realize that you can't grow, you hit the wall. It's quite obvious to many people. So that happens. And you have to do something different is also true. Now, will you hit a storm? Of course it can happen. But navigating the storm is a slightly different skill than just orbit shift skill. Navigating the storm requires basically, there are a few things that I recommend to people when you hit a storm in some sense. One is to sort of assess where you are in the storm. So make sure you're. So let me share that this is a playbook that I have used with 3 storms that I've seen. One is make sure your current customers stay your customers. When the storm is done, you don't want them to go away. It's very important to make sure. Don't sort of dump anything. So what happens is when we saw this Y2K, global financial crisis, all of those places. What happens is that when the market is tough, some of your existing customers will stop working with you or say, I'm not able to continue with you, whatever else. So you might see a loss of customers. But that loss, you have to manage that really well so that you have to take care of your customers. In a bad time, everyone is having a bad time. You can't ditch your customers. You can't be seen as a rat leaving the ship. Right? So very important to be with them through the journey. So it's quite important. The same thing you need to do with employees. Basically, be transparent, saying that there is a challenge, we're going to have to cut salaries, we're going to ask some people to go, but let that be done knowingly and fully aware of what the consequences are. Because if you don't live the crisis, you won't be there to fight the next one. So you have to survive first before you can do anything else. So that will be the second thing. The third thing is that these are the best times to sharpen your saw. Because when the market comes back again somewhere else, it's going to come somewhere else. At that point, you need to be ready to be that point, not where you are right now. So when you are weathering the storm, just to summarize, one is to take care of your customers, make sure they remain your customers when the storm is done. Second, make sure your employees understand where you are in the storm and attract or take care of whatever needs to be done. And third is make sure when the storm is going to be done, you will end up somewhere else, or the world is somewhere else. You should be ready for that world. That's the key that I would say. I want to answer Saumitra's question because I've been thinking a lot about this particular topic for the last few years especially. So when I was running my job as the CEO, I was very task driven. So I would look at tasks, prioritize tasks, and make sure tasks are done one by one, cross. So that's the model. Nowadays, I'm sort of not task driven. I don't care about tasks. I only manage time right now. And I'll tell you what my framework today for time is, and which is why many of you will not get appointments that easily. So let me share that with you. So what I've done is, I have many tasks that I'm working on, many activities, let's say I'm working on. I have time allocated for each of those activities. So the number of hours that I would do per week on that. I operate on a week basis rather than on a day basis. I cannot manage on a daily basis. And I have enough time for myself, which I keep I guard my time. So I have an assistant who manages my calendar, and I allocate certain hours for certain things for her, and she's supposed to manage things within those buckets. And that way I can ensure that I don't get overwhelmed by just one kind of activity. And all the things that I think must move in my calendar actually move, because I'm tracking those on one side and making sure that, okay, this week these things have to move, this week something else has to move, just like Narendra said. But then I'm very, my algorithm right now is that if my time of 1 hour, if I'm spending on some activities, this is the best way for using of my time. Otherwise, it's not worth it. So if I find something else that is more useful to me, very selfishly, then I'm going to say no to everyone else. So that's my algorithm. And there was a third question that I missed, right? There was one. We take 2, 3, or just 2? I think you answered one, right? Yeah, your question. Yeah.
So, as you have been in the industry so long, so which was the toughest change you faced, and how did you survive that?
I don't know. There's change every day. See, the thing is, when you are like a frog in the water, you don't see change. It's continuously changing. That's how I see it right now. Things are moving so fast every day. I don't know what to tell you. You might have.
See, as I briefly covered in the morning session, I'll take the example of COVID. Okay. Suddenly everybody stopped. The life stopped for everybody, right? And we had 300, 400 people, still a startup, and the revenue became less than 10 lakhs per month. Because we don't know what transaction basis. Transaction 0. So what do you do? So we did 2 things. Everybody from the CEO to the receptionist took a salary cut based on their ability to absorb. So the higher management took higher cut, lower people. So that's as far as the liquidity portion was concerned. So that gave us some cushion to really live for tomorrow. Second thing we did is, we said fine, the time is bad. What can we do for future now? how can we sharpen our teeth, to borrow your term, for tomorrow? So we build certain things. When the peak volume will come, how will we address it? And within 3 months, things changed. The peak volume arrived because everybody wanted to move all this oxygen and everything, health kits and everything across the globe from one point to another. So it came very handy, and 3 months the storm was over for us, as Anand said. But I think these are the two things that we tried to do during that time frame.
It's, when do we need to stop or towards the?
Yeah, we can have till 150. So just a quote, one of the persons I work for as a CEO said, if possible, try and create a war chest of, so you can pay your employees for 2 years at least. Not realistic. This is not happening. So, I thought over it, came pandemic, and, therapies came back saying 2 years is all it takes sometimes.
Banks give you money when you don't need it.
Yeah.
I have one question related to employees. मगाशी तुम्ही जे बोलले related to जे काम चांगलं करतात त्यांना perks द्या आणि जे तुम्हाला ट्रीट जास्त चांगलं करतात त्यांना तुम्ही पण ट्रीट चांगलं करा. So there is always a struggle between two groups of employees in my organization, wherein half of them are very disciplined. They एकदम पर्टिक्युलर आहेत त्यांच्या कामाच्या बाबतीत, लॉयल आहेत, एव्हरीथिंग, बट वर्क क्वालिटी इज ओके. अँड देर आर पीपल हू डोंट हॅव डिसिप्लिन, बट द वर्क क्वालिटी इज व्हेरी गुड. So and when it comes to KPIs or talking to them about their performance, it is always a struggle. They use this as a weapon. Ki, even if I don't come on time, I complete my work or and do it very properly. And दुसरे म्हणतात की आम्ही ॲटलिस्ट वेळेवरती येतो. सो हे स्ट्रगल असतं नेहमी, आणि हाऊ टू फाइंड अ मिडल ग्राउंड wherein you can have the work done also and inculcate good culture and discipline also.
Should we take one more? Let's take the 3 questions and then we'll just.
Yeah, hi. My name is Ashish. So I run an IT services company focused on testing. So my question, I'm sure Anand sir would have lovely thing to say about the whole journey, where how while scaling up, the biggest question is when do I turn my attention towards branding more than technical excellence? I guess just to add, typically we have been very conservative with respect to branding, be it product, be it services.
Yeah, since you have the mic.
Yeah. So first of all, Anand, I will thank Anand for having the legendary persons like you over here. So my question to you is, each of you is, what is your dinacharya? On personal thing, means from where you get the energy every day. That is one thing. And in your office, how you plan your work. Means Anand sir said something just now, but I would like to hear from everybody. Yeah.
I think I'll take the last question because it's easier to answer. See, मी कधी कधी यूट्यूबवरची व्याख्यानं ऐकतो आणि त्यात एक डॉक्टर मुलमुळे, कोणी ऐकलंय का त्यांचं व्याख्यान? ओके. त्यांनी आयुष्याचे 4 भाग केलेले आहेत. पहिलं म्हणजे यश, दुसरं सुख, तिसरं आनंद आणि चौथं समाधान. सो आय बिलीव्ह दॅट वी आर इन द 4th rank now. When you are young, you have to be successful. When you are successful, you get sources of pleasure that you can buy flat, buy car, etc., etc., go to vacations and all that. But very soon you realize that what you get by taking from others is pleasure. What you get by giving to others is happiness. So that's the third stage. And finally, when you have accomplished all the three, what comes is samadhan. So as far as dinacharya is concerned, I look for samadhan now. Whatever gives me the maximum satisfaction. So I spend time with founders. That is one part. Certain specific time is allocated for that. Certain time for my spiritual growth. I allocate some time for that. And some time for the family. So these are the three major buckets in which I spend.
Each one has their own ways of organizing your life. Where I am, as Naren said, me and my wife enjoy the morning cup of tea, at least 45 minutes. So we do that. I'm kind of lucky that if she asks me a question on politics or history, I have some context I can answer, though being an engineer, that's one part. Physically active in terms of jogging, yoga and all that, so all of us should do that. But this year nature gave me a shock. I've had 3 fractures in last 12 months. So made me realize I recovered very well, but my whole thing that I have to cover 150 kilometers a month and all that is now sort of whatever I cover, I need to be right. Work-wise is fine. I do allocate certain amount of time to personal entertainment, and that could be reading a book, reading a magazine, watching some, cricket snippets, or just sitting and doing nothing. Very little, the last one, very little happens. But the best part is in where we are right now, is I think freedom to do what we want. And I want to pick what Naren said. Whatever gives you satisfaction, you do that. And we are in a stage where we are able to provide one little help to the founders, which is good, which we do all the time. And good health, in spite of fractures, we still are around and can do that and can work still 15, 13, 14 hours, take a flight, do everything after we are 70 plus. So that's God's, amazing thing to us, so that's what we do. So I personally don't plan that much, like tasks and everything, which I used to do when I was a full-time CEO or whatever, but today I don't do that.
I want to answer your question. So regarding this thing about some people who work very hard but don't follow certain things, and some others do the other way around. Let me explain what I think is important. So I think you should have clear value systems in the company. So if your value requires you to be, whatever you may define as your core values or principles on which you operate, I think they should be clear and everyone should know them. And those who violate them, you should get rid of them. There is no mercy for people who violate core values. Zero tolerance. So now if this is very important for you that, so what is important is something you have to define. Getting the job is important, done is important, or spending the time is important, or coming in time is important, or whatever it is. And I'm not going to put any value judgment on any of them, but these are rules that a company must believe in. These are the core values, this is your culture. Anyone who violates that culture should be exited. And you should have very little tolerance for it. So that's one part. The second thing I would mention is regarding, people getting paid and all of that stuff. I think you have to understand that the salary you pay is a replacement value. So if you can replace somebody at that price, that's the price you should pay. So if your people say that, I'm getting something more outside, they will go. That's as simple as that. So you have to pay people what is the market. And there is no two ways of doing that. And as long as people are delivering what they are supposed to deliver and they do what they are supposed to do and they align with your core values, then what things you want to be flexible on and what things you want to be clear on, that should be defined as part of your core values and you can agree on that. And have zero tolerance for violations of core values, but on other things, that's not that important, then you don't have to be nitpicking on every single thing. The worst thing you can do, which will completely kill your culture in your company, is if you are selective about deciding on every individual what the rules are. That's the worst thing you can do. I don't like him, so he's coming in the morning, so I tell him, oh, you don't come in the evening, so I'm getting it. Somebody else will say, oh, you come in the morning. So having that consistency across the company is very important. And transparent and consistent operations can happen if you have predefined or it's clarity on what your culture really belongs means. Right? If you see that, then enforcing that is so much easier. And if you don't have it, have a meeting. Just decide that we think these are very important things. And those who don't agree with this, sorry, I'm not going to be tolerant. But other things I think are not important, and you can also step back on some things that you might feel are, you can ignore them because in the grand scheme of things, they are not very important. I hope I answered your question. There was one more that we did not take. Yeah. Yeah, branding over thing. I think you're in a small business, especially under 100 crores, you can't spend money on branding. You have no money for branding. Your work is your brand. And your people are your brand. You have no money to spend on branding. Brand has to happen because of the work you do and what you are achieving and all of those things. Spending money, meaning putting hoardings and all, it's just money, waste of money. I don't think that's the way to do it. However, your culture, your activities you do, thoughtfully being there for different kinds of things can help create the brand. And it takes a long time to build a brand. So if you're starting out early on, starting out by saying, okay, I'm going to go build a brand first, is kind of not a very good idea. So let your work define your brand, and it'll happen if you do the right things.
So according to me, two things define brand. Your customers. When they talk to another customer, that's your brand value creation. Number two, your colleagues. Taking a personal example, you will be able to spot a person who has worked in Kale Consultants for more than 3 years, no matter where he goes in the world. That's the culture he carries with her or him. So I think that's a brand. Today, just a few days back, we had a reunion. Some people who had worked for us for 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, 10 years. And it was a phenomenal session where we gathered like this. And such a goodwill, such a affection for each other that that brand you cannot replace. So I think these are your colleagues are your most important brand according to.
I think let's Anand, just keep going. See, one thing I would say about branding is, can you all hear me behind? Yeah. Okay. Like engineering, research, sales, go-to-market, product development, whatever else you have. Sometimes we, with the technical bent of mind as founders, do not bring brand into our conversation or nomenclature. First thing you want to do is to bring it in. Even if you don't spend money, you can't spend money, you can't afford it. Make sure we are sometimes blind to it, number one. Second thing that happens is sometimes we have a very different view of brand. What I've experienced over the last few years in our mentoring program, as well as seeing founders elsewhere, the direct-to-consumer good founders have very deep insights into brand. It may show up as advertisement, a post, or something like that, but there is a strategy underneath that. So you want to make sure that it's on the table for discussion so that you and your team understand it, and when you want to kick it in, you know it. Because without brand, you will not reach what you want to. And companies that have been successful, either what Naren said or what Anand said, have built an amazing brand over a period of time.
Yeah. Maybe one last question. Yeah, two questions.
I have a mic.
Yeah. Hello.
Can I ask a second question?
This is. Sir, this is Akash Sancheti. So, just for the context, all three of you were founders, are founders, and the mentors. So, similar, a smaller, rather much smaller journey is mine. So, I am 2x founder, and after that, we entered into mentoring, means organically. People जो young startups है वो आते थे पूछते थे और वहाँ से हम mentoring और इसमें आ गए तो हमारे कुछ mentees Shark Tank India में भी आए और वो हुआ तो that is one part. So in this mentoring journey, what I have means where I am stuck is one thing: the founder hat and the mentor hat. So like you guys are already the founder. तो यहाँ पे क्या होता है काफ़ी बार कुछ आता है कि यार you should do this way. Okay. Now mentor's job is to guide or the coach's job is to guide, to show the framework, to give them the framework. But वहाँ पे I also wear sometimes the consult on the founder's hat. Wherein I feel okay नहीं यार इसको ऐसे करते हैं ये करते हैं and I end up being the co-creator or the co-founder or the strategist for that company instead of the mentor or the coach only. So यहाँ पे now the actual question is after the context कि thing one कि my one program is for the CXOs of the company mostly the US based तो जहाँ पे we help them grow the signal to noise ratio. तो जो Steve Jobs, Elon Musk और फिर I'm into spirituality, follow Osho and Sarshri तो इनके combination से कुछ program बनाए तो वहाँ पे also I feel the same barrier within myself to guide them because they have done the executive coaching and different kind of coaching who come to me, my coaches. And the second is for the startups I mentor तो उन्हें mentor करते हुए मेरा founder hat बीच में आ जाता है. So what should be the eventually or what is the way कि okay I should give them their space or means how to do that actually means within myself which is my mental block. You are the best person.
See, mentoring is good part of mentoring is an art. So different people do it differently, but there is some common themes. Speaking your specific question, I would tell my founding team, if I were you, here is how I would do it. Right? But people are extremely competent, creative, innovative, disruptive. If they have a different way to do it, we can discuss it, but leave it for the founders to execute the way they want it because they are the ones who are going to do it. As Anand said, board doesn't run the company, the CEO who runs it. Similarly, they run the company. That is one part. And if they succeed by a method that they have chosen and not your method, I think that end point is very important. Sometimes mentors get stuck into specifically how to do it. Don't get into it. I at least don't get into that.
We should end here. Yes, I'm also managing my time. My time is up.
Okay, all right. So should we walk to prepare? Yeah. Okay. So we will have like one photo session, and then we'll have one more session.
Now, before that. Okay.
Yes.
So thank you to the panelists and thank you audience. You all have been very, very participative. So for all of us here, let's hear it for everyone. Thank you for a very, very engaging session. I now call upon Anand Shiralkarji to please give a token of appreciation to all our esteemed panelists and speakers. Yeah. Three of them with you? Yeah. Oh, all of us. Right now? Okay, so we have a group photograph for all of us here. Maybe what we can do is have them this side and then take the picture from here, or you do it the other way around. Oh, all here? Okay, then if you can come on stage itself, that'll be great.